No! No! God. No! No!
Before there was murder, there were two brothers. Before blood cried out from the earth, there was laughter. Abel and I ran beneath a sky our parents still remembered being brighter. You see, we were born outside the garden, but we were raised by two people who had lived inside of it. Imagine that. Our bedtime stories were not stories. Father remembered walking with God. Mother remembered a world without shame. And somewhere beyond the horizon stood a place that we had never seen, guarded by a flame. We inherited their exile and their sweat, their sorrow, and their choice. Abel was my little brother. We fought, we laughed, we bled, we grew. He tended the sheep, and I worked the ground. The same ground that God had cursed because of our father became the very thing that I loved. I broke it between my hands, and I turned it, I planted it, I sweated into it, and somehow it answered me. Until the day God didn't. When the time came, we brought our offerings before the Lord. I brought fruit from the ground. Abel brought his firstborn of the flock and their fat portions. And the Lord looked with favor upon Abel and his offering, but upon me he did not. I wish I could tell you that I asked why, but I didn't. I looked at my brother, and something inside of me changed. Abel hadn't wronged me. That's important. Abel had done nothing to me. But jealousy doesn't require an offense, only a comparison. I began hearing questions in the darkness. Why him? Why not you? What makes his blood more precious than your sweat? I don't know when the voice became familiar, but it wasn't even a voice. Maybe evil rarely needs to shout, but maybe it simply finds the wound and it keeps touching it night after night. Why him? Why him? Why him? Until eventually the question became, why should he live? And God saw it happening. Before the blood, before the field, before my hands became something I would spend the rest of my life staring at, God warned me, why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? He told me that if I did what was right, I would be accepted. And then he said something I did not understand until it was too late. He said that sin is crouching at your door. Sin is crouching at your door. Its desire was for me. But I was supposed to rule over it. I thought the danger was Abel, but it wasn't. The danger was already inside the house. I asked my brother to come into the field with me. He trusted me. Of course he did. I was his brother. I remember his face when the first blow landed. It was not pain, it was confusion. That is the part that follows me. He couldn't understand why his brother was hurting him, and he fell. And I could have stopped. God help me, I could have stopped. But rage has momentum, and once hatred is given hands, it wants to finish what the heart began. So I struck him again. And again. He tried to protect himself. He called my name. Not God's, he called mine. He reached for me, and I remember pushing him into the dirt. My brother, my childhood, my mother's son. The boy who had slept beside me. The boy whose laughter I knew before I understood what hatred was. And still I did not stop until Abel stopped moving. Silence. You think murder ends with death, but it doesn't. Death was only the beginning. The birds had stopped, the sheep scattered, the wind moved through the grain, and there I was, kneeling beside the first dead man in human history. It was my brother. There had never been a grave before, no funeral, no ritual, no words for what I had done. Humanity had known death as a warning. Now, because of me, it had a face. And then God came. Where is Abel, your brother? I knew. He knew. Still I lied. I do not know. And then I said the words mankind has repeated in 1,000 different ways ever since. Am I my brother's keeper? God answered, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. The ground, my ground, the thing I had cultivated, the thing that I had understood, the thing I believed belonged to me, now carried my brother's blood. And God cursed me from it. I would work, and it would no longer yield its strength. I would wander restless, homeless, marked by what I had done, and I cried that the punishment was greater than I could bear. I was afraid someone would find me, that someone would do to me what I had done to Abel. Perhaps that would have been justice. Yes, but God placed a mark upon me. No one was permitted to kill Cain. People call that mercy, and perhaps it was. But consider another possibility. Maybe sometimes mercy and punishment occupy the same flesh, because death would have ended my remembering. Instead, I had to live. I had to wake every morning knowing Abel would not. I had to grow older knowing that my younger brother never could. I had to build a life with hands that had ended one, and everywhere I went, the mark went with me. And so did something else, a traveler. It was dark and heavy and persistent. Sometimes I wonder whether he followed me or whether I carried him. And in the ways of shutting out that murderous persistence of the heavy, dark traveler that passenged with Cain, I was unable. Yes, even after all these years, his name still finds me. Abel. What happened in that field did not remain in that field. Violence never does. Ask my mother, ask my father. They lost 2 sons that day. Ask the soil that drank innocent blood. Ask the generations that came after us. Sin travels, trauma travels, anger travels. A wound untreated in one generation can become a weapon in the next. We inherit things from those who came before us. Fear, pride, rage, shame, silence. But perhaps every generation eventually stands where I stood at a door, and something is crouching inside. Our fathers may have carried it. Their fathers may have carried it. You are not guilty for every wound handed to you, but you are responsible for what you do with it, because pain that is never confronted does not disappear. No, it looks for somewhere to go. A wife, a husband, a stranger, a child, a brother. And one day someone asks, when does it stop? I tell you, it stops when someone refuses to pass it on. When someone chooses confession over concealment, forgiveness over vengeance, help over isolation, love over pride. When someone finally admits there is something crouching at my door. I once asked God, am I my brother's keeper? And I have wandered long enough to know the answer that yes. Yes, we are. Not his master, not his judge, but his keeper. Because every human being leaves fingerprints upon another. Every kindness, every cruelty, every wound, every mercy, they ripple outward long after the hand that caused them is gone. My brother's blood cried from the ground. Mine cried from inside of me. So when you feel that traveler walking beside you, when anger whispers, when jealousy begins asking questions, when some inherited darkness tells you that hurting someone else might finally quiet what hurts inside of you, I ask that you remember the field, that you remember the blood, that you remember Abel. And remember the warning given before the first murder ever happened, that sin is crouching at the door. It desires you, but you must rule over it, because eventually every generation must decide what inheritance it will leave behind. The wounds it received or the healing that it chose. I was Kane. I carried the mark. But you still have time to choose what you carry forward. So I ask you this, will you be unable to? Or will you be able? The choice is yours.